Hi, you are watching Turn to the Stars, and I am Andrea Klim, and today we are going to be talking about the total lunar eclipse that occurred last Sunday that was just passed on Tuesday, September 29th. That was when I was prepared to talk about it, but it was the total lunar eclipse. The blood moon is what I'm going to be focused on in today's show. And on Turn to the Stars, we do like to really focus on the astrological influences, but also take into consideration all the other modalities that are supportive of life and the sustenance of life. And so today I'm going to be talking about this total lunar eclipse, full moon eclipse that we just experienced. And we are on the light side of that, meaning that we are getting the information and the downloads of information that are necessary for our positive evolvement. And over the course of this next 6 months, this energy is unfolding in each of our lives. Lunar eclipses really bring to light relationships. And this one in particular brings to light the things from the past, which are primal, which are possibly influencing us in ways that are, I might use a word, a bit heavy or hard to deal with in some ways, especially if you have any of the planets in your chart in the sign of Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer. This lunar eclipse was at 4 degrees in the constellation of Aries. So all these cardinal signs, meaning very active signs, are being somehow awakened or ignited, or there's this presence of action and activity and real big change that's occurring for anybody of these signs. And so this is actually the 4th total lunar eclipse in a series of 4 over the course of the last 2 years. So this next 6 months is significant for all of us here on Earth. And it is believed that great events will occur or are occurring that are changing the world that we live in. And I do want to show you a chart which is of this total lunar eclipse. And now, I know most of you that are watching the show, I'm sure were outside watching this as I was. It was totally incredible to see. We don't often get to see this type of cosmic event, and it was incredible. And you can see it occurring. It occurred exactly on Sunday, September 27th at 10:44 p.m. here, EST, Eastern Standard Time. And as you can see in this chart, the yellow area at the top of the chart is the lunar eclipse with the south node of the moon right beside it. And you can see in the middle of the chart there's all kinds of lines that are touching that spot. And the one that I want to point out, which is so significant and is bringing us a great sense of relief, is the truth. The work, the responsibility that we are each taking, the learning, the education, the realization of what the truth is, our search and our research and our investigation into ourselves, who we are, what we bring forward from the past is significant. And you can see that by that line from the lunar eclipse. There's a blue line that stretches down to the right side of your screen to Saturn at 0 degrees of Sagittarius, and that is one of the most positive influences in that chart. The big key word is responsibility. Responsibility, accepting the reality, taking responsibility for what the truth is, and not running and hiding from it, because old habits, old patterns of behavior are hard to change. That chart is also indicating that. It is indicating that our actions will speak louder than our words. And so I'm going to keep going with this show because I have a lot of information that I want to share with you. And what this picture, this eclipse actually painted a picture of, continues to exclusively shed light, revealing to us the necessity to listen to each other. Very, very important to listen to each other, to realize our differences and our likeness, our dark sides and our peaceful sides, our animalistic sides, our loving sides, our egotistical defensive side, our humble side. And there's another picture I have I want to show you, which is the next in order here, which is of the afterlight of that full moon lunar eclipse. Always before a lunar eclipse, the time before, we're in the dark of what's to come, what's going to change. And then afterward, we have the light, which is this picture. This is a picture that was taken by Daniel St. Don, who is a member of my community, and he did an incredible job. You can see by that picture of capturing some beautiful pictures. He's from in Manchester, New Hampshire, and actually what you see behind me is also his photography. And I'm so glad. Thank you, Daniel, for offering and allowing me to use this on the show, because what is highlighted by this lunar eclipse is also our leadership side, our team orientation side, our pioneering side, our togetherness partnering side, our combative side, our giving side, our warlike side, our peaceful side, our primal side versus our humane side. Acts of anger versus acts of kindness. I'm listing all of these because there is a pro and there's a con. There's a negative, there's a positive. There's a yin and there's a yang to every single energy. Did you know that every single sign of the zodiac, the name of each constellation is rooted in the Latin and the Greek cultures? And that's where we get the symbols or the signs like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. These 12 constellations, the names, the roots of these names are all deeply seated in the culture of the Greeks and the Latin being our root language. And so I wanted to go deeper into the meaning over the course of the next 6 months of this energy, because one of the inspirations was my daughter's Latin professor, Dr. Hamill in Derry, who said to me when he watched the last show, he said, "Boy, you really needed a lot more time to go into the lunar eclipse." And I said, "I've got you. I will do that." So thank you, Dr. Hamill, for inspiring me to go deeper into this, because, when you think about our pioneering side versus our doing things together, Aries inspires me. I want to go forward and I'm going to charge forward and I'm going to do this. But take into consideration that string of connection with the sun in Libra on this total lunar eclipse. Our togetherness side, our partnering side, our side that says, let's talk about things. Let's take into consideration each other. If you have any energy in Libra in your chart, you are somebody who's always, that is the light of your beingness, that Libra side. So a total lunar eclipse like this, which is very close to the degrees of 5 of Aries, unfolds enlightenment of the self. Your past surfaces, meaning your past behaviors, your past face. And it was interesting, about a month ago, I heard this voice in my head say, look beyond the face. Look beyond the surface. When you meet someone, don't judge them by what you see on the surface. Look beyond the face. And also, this total lunar eclipse inspires peace. And one of the things I want to point out about this degrees of Aries, ruled by the planet Mars, the god of war, and all activities associated with movement, envy, leadership, combat, competition, our sexuality, sports, games, the games that we play, the stories that we tell ourselves in order to win. Aries is the one who says, I'm going to win at any cost. Please remember that there is a string of connection to Libra on this eclipse, and it brings to light the very important word that I like to use, equality. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's consider each other, and let's be honest with each other. Otherwise, we are going to be at combat. We are going to be in separate corners. And really, I believe we must ask ourselves, who really wins when war is engaged? No one. Or the one who dominates, or both. If Libra, negotiation, and peace can be discovered, we can resolve our differences. And there's a picture that I have that I want to show you on the screen. And this picture is by Brenda Rodriguez. That's not the right one, John. Brenda Rodriguez D. There it is. This is my son's girlfriend, and she is truly an inspiration. And she wrote this on her belly when she was pregnant with my grandson, and it says, I love you. And it was her message to my son. And she had a little boy, and his name is Dante. And, you know, we can all be inspired by the love that she shared through this photo. And so I want to say thank you, Brenda, for this beautiful picture. And sometimes just saying I love you and all that in any way that you can is just enough. Even if you don't agree and you don't see eye to eye, show someone that you love them, and show them that you care, and show them that you will listen and hear what they have to say by opening your ears and your eyes and your heart and your soul and your spirit to them. And when you do that, then you hear them. It's interesting, in that total lunar eclipse, if I could put that chart on the screen one more time, which is the first photo. There we go. That is, in that chart, we have something called a total, we have something called a mutable T-square. And I'm going to point out where that is, because Mars is the planet that's ruling this lunar eclipse. If you look down to the bottom of the chart, where the symbol for Mars is, which is red, which is probably right around 7 o'clock. Mars is in the constellation of Virgo, and it's squaring Saturn, which is over to the right side of the screen at 0 degrees of Sagittarius. And Saturn is squaring Neptune, which is up at the top of the chart about 1 o'clock. And actually Neptune is retrograde in this chart. And what does that mean? So what does that mean? That means that there are some real illusions or confusion around what our activities should be or can be, or what is the healthy way for us to act. What is it that we need to adapt to or don't adapt to? What is it that we need to realize so we can take responsibility on a day-to-day basis for what we understand, what we know? There's a lot of work that is required that this eclipse is unveiling for us all. And so that total, that mutable T-square is significant to us universally. And a very special friend from my childhood posted something on Facebook, and I want to show you that picture right now. It's by Plato. And this is something, and it says, those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses. And when I read this, I had to contemplate it for a while, because those who are able to see beyond the shadows, if you're able to see beyond the darkness or the sadness or the difficulties that someone carries and the lies of their culture, meaning the things that they were taught by their parents, by their parents, by their parents, going back, if you're able to understand that and what those belief systems were, and understand why that sort of catapulted and affected so many people, it changes the outlook on the surface. And it also changes how you believe, and you're able to open your heart and realize what you believe versus what someone else tells you to believe. And it's interesting because we're at the very end right now. Today's October 6th. And on October 9th, Mercury is going to end being in a retrograde motion. Mercury being our logic, our reason. So Mercury is beginning to station. We're coming to the end of a period where we've covered old ground in the area of relationships, and we've already had these aha moments. And so we've become more aware of conflict, areas where we need to make adjustments, areas where emotional security is required. There's a profound change of direction of our understanding of our security systems in the area of relationships. And I have a chart which I want to show you. There it is. And that highlights the day when Mercury and the Sun came together. And that chart actually was on September 30th. And when you see the Sun, the highlighted area on the chart, which is blue, when you see the Sun, which is our spirit, our vitality, our outward sense of who we are, and Mercury, meaning our logic and our reason, whenever they come together, when Mercury is retrograde, it is a time that we are inspired and know what it was that we were retracing in our life. So on a universal level, the direction that we're all seeking is peace, harmony, and balance and security in our relationships in some way. And we've all had this sense of, aha, I get what this is about, why I had to go backward in time in order to figure this out. So I wanted to point that out to you, that by the 9th, October 9th, we are going to be moving in a more direct forward motion with Mercury, meaning that I would give it a couple days after the 9th to really let the dust settle and let this planet really find some stability in its forward movement. And that is our perception from here on Earth. It is not actually that the planet went backward. It is our perception. And so I wanted to point that out. So everyone, Mercury retrograde does end on October 9th. But give it a couple days, at least 3 or 4 days, to settle and let it get back on track in that constellation of Libra, and allow yourself the time to find your sense of balance. I want to go a little bit further into this total lunar eclipse because I promised Dr. Hamill I would. 5 degrees Aries takes us back to, when I look at the World Age map or the Akashic Records map, to a time of 43,426 BC, which was the World Age of Paleolithic celestial cults. Brings to our realization a time when ancient peoples formed cults based upon their inner innate guidance as they looked to the Pleiades for guidance. And the Pleiades is known for having 7 very bright stars, which are the 7 sisters. The Pleiades are an open cluster near the constellation of Taurus. but in Aries, but very close to the constellation of Taurus. And the brightest stars of this Pleiadian cluster are named the Seven Sisters. And this goes back to the time of Greek mythology. And the daughters of Atlas, and the story behind this is the daughters of Atlas and Pleione, pursued by Orion and rescued by Zeus, who immortalized the seven sisters by placing them in the sky. That is the mythological story behind, how the seven sisters and the seven stars became. So these stars are highly visible and became special in many ancient cultures. They are, in the winter time, visible stars in the northern hemisphere, if you look toward the Pleiades. In the summertime, these stars are visible in the southern hemisphere. And cultures such as the Maori, the Australian Aborigines, the Chinese, the Mayans, the Aztecs, and the natives of North America have known and studied and watched these stars throughout time. In Hindu mythology, the Pleiades are known as the 6 wives of the 6 sages. This number, 7, is not fixed but changes through the history of these myths between 6 and 7. The common element is the feminine nature. Although this total lunar eclipse was at 4 degrees and 40 minutes, the Aries eclipse is on what we call a masculine axis. Aries, Libra are two masculine signs, so they're on the masculine axis of cardinal influence. It constitutes memories and beliefs. It brings to light those types of events, memories, and beliefs, followed by ancient man to a modern time, to this very present time, of the feminine principles of our beingness. It also brings to our sight reminders of the survival instincts that we as humans have deeply ingrained in our DNA of nomadic consciousness and the hunters and the gatherers. What does it take for me to survive? I've got that in my DNA. How will I survive? So that full moon, that total lunar eclipse to come over, has influenced that over the next 6 months, each of us will be growing in light and will be reminded of our own innate instincts, our instincts of survival. And these instincts inside us, we need and will require for us to tap into them and so that we can prosper. Ancient methods and medicines for survival are also resurfacing, so that's very important. Medicines such as mushrooms, and I have a picture to put on the screen of chaga. Chaga is what we call, is something that I use every day, and it's called the mushroom of immortality. In Russia, it is actually the cure for cancer. It was discovered by a scientist there. In the United States, we call it a superfood, but chaga is what we call, it is found and it grows on a birch tree, but it is called the mushroom that brings immortality, that supports immortality. And I know I'm close to the end of today's show, but I want to tell you about something that Turn to the Stars is hosting on October 31st, Halloween, trick or treat. I am Turn to the Stars. My family is supporting an event by a very dear friend of mine, Debbie Raymond Panette, who is a medium, a clairvoyant, a psychic, and she's going to be offering the Long Island Medium Style Gallery type of mediumship to a whole group that we're hosting this event at the Fairways in their seminar lecture room, which is upstairs above the office at the Fairways in Derry. So it's going to be great because we're all going to dress up, going to have some fun with this. We're going to bring forth some of our primal memories of who we were in other lifetimes. So we invite you to, just maybe give a call to Turn turn to the stars for more information on that. And my next show, I'm going to be talking about the new moon in Libra, which is occurring on October 12th. And that new moon is going to urge us to rely on sources that raise our consciousness and our ability to help others. So basically, we begin to build on the changes that were incorporated by the solar eclipse in September and the total lunar eclipse, that portal of change that has been solidifying in our lives. So I'm going to be building with information and knowledge with this new moon show on the new moon in Libra. And until that time, I just want to really, really remind everyone the importance of remembering that you are not the only one that is here on this earth. I am not the only one that is here on this earth. We are all here together. And I have found that when I turn to the stars, that I find my answers. But when I turn to my heart and my inner guidance and my spirit of existence, and to the friends and the people that I trust, and the equality and the dance that takes place between human beings and all of life, that's when I find my answers even more. So I do want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for my sponsors, Lauren Rainbow and Kathy Tagney, for being my supporters, and they really do make a difference in making sure that this show can be aired every other week and that we can talk to all of you. So I want to say thank you for watching, thank you for your support, and thank you for turning to the stars. Turn to the stars and you will find your answers there. Until next week, take good care, and I'll see you then.